What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter. I'm joined today with Mike Morawski. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm great, Dan. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic because after all, I have my very favorite audience member right here watching. And why is my favorite audience member watching? Is because this is a chance encounter where I interview commercial real estate investors. Why do I do that? Well, part of it is because it's the law. But the bigger thing is that you have to find out the people who are in your industry. Is there any overlap? Are there any opportunities for us to collaborate? And you need to document your relationships for 506B compliance. So if you have any private deals, you're not allowed to tell them unless you actually have some documentation. But that's all fun and exciting. But Mike, before we get too far into it, can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. I'm Mike Morawski. I am out of Chicago. Been in the real estate business about 30 years, dating myself a little bit there, Dan. Love real estate. I have a passion for multifamily. Started in the business as a general contractor. And, Dan, being an entrepreneur, we all do all the marketing, all the sales, all the contracts, all the bookkeeping, all the ordering, all the hiring, firing, taxes. And one morning I woke up and I was burnt out. And I looked at my wife, said, can't do this anymore. Always believe success leaves clues because I heard Jim Rohn say that years ago. And took a year off, sold my company, took a year off, and met a real estate agent who was really successful and went to him and said, hey, I think I'd like to go in the business. He said, I think you'd be great at it. Dan, I went in the real estate sales side of the business. My first 8 months, 9 months in the business, I sold 78 homes. I was Remax Rookie of the Year that year. I went on to build a team selling 125 listings a year. I gave all my buyer business away. And in 2005, I saw the market shifting and decided I was going to be an apartment investor and went into the apartment business. Went out, raised $18 million in 30 months, bought 4,000 apartments in 5 US markets, built a property management company managing 7,500 doors. And I built $100 million company in that short period of time.
That is an amazing story. And the thing that's really funny is we always start off in this show with the motivation piece. And the reason for that is because sometimes we have newbies on here and they'll know why they're getting involved in this business, but they don't necessarily know what they're going to be doing. So I'd like to start off soft with that. But I got a new question that I've added to the format here, which is, could you please name at least one asset or asset class that you believe is risky but is still popular?
Um, I personally, I believe retail is risky today.
Hmm.
Although people are buying it, people are in it, people are absorbing it. I think some groups are retrofitting some retail,
Hmm.
but for me, retail is a risky place to spend my time.
Interesting. Good stuff. All right, so let's go through the five different motivations. The first motivation I found that some commercial investors have is they're trying to preserve their purchasing power. That means they are already somewhat established. They've probably also got the cash flow coming from their assets, but there's a problem. When inflation rears its ugly head, it threatens to spoil the party, so they need to make more acquisitions to make ends meet. So that's the first reason why some investors are doing it, but that's not my primary motivation. My big one is trading time directly for wealth. I've got a background in tech, specifically it's in CRM technology, so that means it's building online funnels and all that sort of stuff, and that's what eventually brought me to real estate. But the problem with making money in the form of salary or wage is you're paying more tax than anybody else. Income tax is the highest form. And it hit me. It's like, well, why don't I pivot and find a way where I'm not losing half of everything I make the tax? So that's what I'm up to. But most people I find they're looking to take control of their time. Maybe they want to fast track to retirement, or maybe it's just that they want to work fewer months per year, fewer weeks per month or fewer hours per week, something like that. So that's a very popular motivation, but there are some people where they're not looking to shift down at all. Some people are just plain ambitious and they're looking for their legacy wealth. They want to buy their entire hometown. They want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job. And so they're going to keep on hustling into their 90s. Whereas the last motivation I found is some people have picked a sector of society, or perhaps it's animals or the environment. They want to send people to Mars, like who knows what it is, but they recognize that the financial part of the equation is absolutely pivotal if you're going to make that kind of big impact on a sector of society or something like that. So that's the fifth motivation. So out of those five, Mike, what describes you best? What resonates with you the most?
I think what resonates with me the most is preserving cash.
Mm-hmm.
Preserving cash and leaving a legacy, whether that's in your hometown or across the country. Yeah, I'm in Chicago, and most of what I've invested in has been in the smile of the United States. Between, if you drew a line from Dallas, Texas, up to Charlotte, North Carolina, that's what we call the smile, that southeast corridor, right? And that's where I find that you find the most preservation right now, because of things like population growth, job growth, household income, which are three of the largest metrics to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. So then as far as core competencies, one of the things that is important about this show is I want you to be able to effectively communicate on the subject of commercial real estate. And the best tool that I've got is the Dan Does Deals commercial roll die. You can go to dandoesdeals.com and download and print out your own copy. It's totally free. I don't even ask for your email address, which is a really, really bad idea from a marketing perspective. But I want to make sure that you can print it out and you can share it with your friends and family, and you'll know the different roles and how to make a deal. So let's start off with what a repositioner is. A repositioner looks at a lot of different properties. They're an acquisitions person, and the first thing that they're doing is they are underwriting it. Underwriting is a fancy word. It means doing the math. They're talking to sellers, so that means they have to figure out, is this property even making what this seller claims it is? And that's the first thing they're doing. But the repositioning part of being a repositioner is they're trying to figure out what changes can they make to the property to find some more upside. There are really three main tools in the repositioner's tool belt to find them. The first one is more advantageous lending from a financier, but the first more obvious one is more efficient operations. You got to cut those costs, and it's more than just stopping those Benjamins from going down the toilet there and unclogging toilets, termites, and what's not. There's also a marketing piece, which is one of my fortes, which is important to keep the vacancy rate low. There's also some automation involved, and the typical things of taking out trash and mowing lawns. But because real estate is so hot, the operations piece probably isn't enough. So very often you'll need a contractor team. You mentioned your contracting experience, Mike, but the contractors, what they're doing is they're renovating the place. They're doing what they call a value add. And the purpose of that is that way tenants will pay more for the units in rent with a smile on their face because it's a nicer place. But if you are a repositioner from the internet, you got a great big problem, which is you need a local. You need somebody who's maybe an hour away, so if something goes down, they can hop in their car and get over there. And that's not going to be me, because I'd have to find my passport and hop on a plane and all that kind of stuff. There's going to be somebody who's not me, who's going to be the local. And those four people, they seem like those are the owners, but of course the financiers are involved. There's lots of different types of financiers. It might be a bank, it might be a fund manager. But the financier, when you turn around and show them the deal that you have in hand and the team that you have in place and the plan that you're looking to do, they're going to say, well, there's one thing you left out. Who's your KP? Who's your sponsor? Who's your main sponsor? And what that's all about is if you want to be eligible for the loan, and let's say it's a bigger apartment complex, 150, 350 units, something like that. Well, to be eligible for the loan, you need somebody in the fold who already owns a similar asset. And on top of that, you need a certain amount of liquidity and you need a balance sheet of at least the amount of the loan. But if you put all that stuff together, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So, Mike, how would you describe your core competencies that you're looking to contribute to your next deal?
Uh, I like the first one you talked about, being the
Reposition. Mhm.
repositioner, the value add. I like to find those deals that are in that B class marketplace where the property is, workforce housing. I can add value to it, increase the value. And when I look at increasing value, I look at it through, first of all, what can I do construction wise? Okay, I'm doing a deal right now. We're doing all the exteriors, all the interiors. We know that by adding, $600,000 worth of CapEx improvements to the property, that we're going to drive the rent X and create, 20% more value, or whatever that value is to the property. The other part of that I really like is the ability to change the operation. Whether I'm buying that deal from a mom and pop or I'm buying it from another operator who just has sucked the wind out of the staff and hasn't put money into operations, I want to be the guy to go in and make all those things work differently, but work better together.
Beautiful, beautiful. So my next question then, it has to do with the ideal property. And when commercial investors are talking to each other, maybe they'll ask for your buy box or your ideal property, but they're really asking for three things. I sometimes like to say three and a half. Might mention some of them already. The first one is going to be geography. Where is it? What states? What counties? What neighborhoods? Mike already mentioned the smile, but the second one is going to be unit count. Okay, now we're talking about commercial investments, specifically about multifamily. And so retail and multifamily and mobile home parks, they'll all have self-storage as well. They'll all have unit counts. If you're talking industrial or warehousing, it's going to be in square footage, but they're going to want to know that unit count for multifamily for sure. But the third thing is the class. And unfortunately, they use the word class and the same rating system for two different things. The first one is the condition of the actual building, including, how old is it, right? Is it immaculate? Is it fantastic? Or is it a dive? So that's the first meaning of class. The second one has to do with the area that the building is located in terms of crime rate and the school districts that they are inside. So that's why I say three and a half. And both of the different versions of class, they give it a rating system just like grade school, like C minus, C plus, B minus, A minus, and so on. So I know I'm asking you to repeat yourself, but what's easier for you to say yes to and more difficult to say no to, Mike?
What's easy for me to say yes to is my buying criteria, right? I have to have that all lined out. What's easier for me to say no to is if a property doesn't fit into that buy box, right? And Dan, I say this because the first deal I ever did, I just believed the seller. I just listened to what the seller and the broker said. I didn't do any underwriting. I didn't do any due diligence. I didn't do any inspections. I just said, okay, okay, okay. And I bought this property and I was all of a sudden became what we call a don't wanter. I didn't want it anymore. It was a bag of bricks I bought. And I sat down with my broker at that point and I said, look, we got to do this different. I said, Ryan, I need to build a buying strategy. And that's what I did, was I built a buying strategy. You want me to go
Beautiful.
through that a little?
Yeah, no, that's really great because, like as you said, like for location, anywhere in the Smile where there's some good growth. The unit counts, though, what's the sweet spot as far as unit counts?
Today, in today's environment, I want to be between 50 and 150 units. I don't want to spend too much time above 150 because there's too many big players with smart money out there that you're chasing deals. The competition's a little bit less under 150 deals, and you can, I think the value add product under 150 deals or 150 units right now makes more sense than in a 200 unit deal right now.
All right, beautiful. So the next question I have then has to do with who you're best suited to help. And each commercial investor, because of our different skill sets and whatnot, there'll be somebody that we're better suited to help than others. Me personally, it's the sponsors and KPs are the people who I'm always trying to find. And the reason for that is because of my marketing and tech background. You need to have some sort of foundation before you can really leverage those skills and make the most out of them. So I'm always looking for them. And Mike, I don't know if you have any 506B deals on, but if you have 506Bs, you're not allowed to entice investors. So stay away from that. But you can say beginners or whatnot. If you're doing 506Cs, you can say whatever you want. But who are you best suited in commercial real estate to help more than anybody else?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that even though 506C, you can say anything you want to anybody, I don't necessarily know that that's the best type of structure out there. To be
Right,
honest with you.
exactly.
I love that 506B because, it gives me a little bit more runway, I think,
Mhm.
especially when you build a database over time. Who do I like to help, Dan? I really like to help the new investor coming into the market that doesn't know anything and understands, though, that single family or some other asset class doesn't make as much sense as the economies of scale that you get from the multifamily spot, right? Whether they are an active or a participant in an active deal, right?
Mhm.
So I like to help those people, but I also like to help the operator who's experienced, whose life is out of balance, and I can help coach them in a way that will help them really balance their lifestyle. If that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, 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 it makes perfect sense. So then, if that person is watching, and I'm sure they are, the best way to reach out, I know we met up in a couple of meetups. I find most of my stuff through LinkedIn, and I spend a lot of my time on there. Is LinkedIn the best way to reach you, or is there a website that's better? How should they catch up with you?
LinkedIn's a great way to meet me, to catch me. I am on any of the social media platforms that you participate in. You'll
Mhm.
find me. Instagram, LinkedIn. You can go to my website, which is mycoreintentions.com. And you can, I'm a networker. I love to meet people, talk to people. You can reach out to me at mycoreintentions.com, and we can set up a time to jump on and talk through what you are trying to accomplish. And if I can help you, I certainly will try and do that.
Excellent, excellent. So I only have one more thing, and it's actually not for you. It's actually for you in the audience. See, I've got this campaign going on. It's called Stop the Ugly Red Buttons. And if you look under my left hand, you'll notice that there is a very big, very ugly red button. It says subscribe on it. The only way you can get rid of it is by clicking on it, and then it turns into the gray button of tranquility, which is my favorite kind of button because it has a magical power. It means that YouTube will start to pay for these videos instead of me. But all jokes aside, what it really means is that my videos might show up on your list of suggestions. You can feel free to ignore those. That's perfectly fine. And you've already done me an enormous favor by watching today. Just like Mike, you've done me an enormous favor by joining me today. This has been fantastic getting to know you better.
Yeah, me too, Dan. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's been great to get to know you better as well.
Awesome, thanks. Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me.
Hi.
Oh, hey, yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay, are you already logged into 506B me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, you can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506B me, everybody.